Hey, everybody out there in Google Plus, Google Hangouts land. Shawn Hart here, back with a vengeance. I'm excited about the new launch here. Seth Stevens, my business partner here in Indianapolis on a certain venture. For some reason, I decided to fly back to Indiana to do this webinar. God knows why. I don't know if it was the gloomy skies or the cold weather or this Seth's office environment kind of puts me in a hospital mentality. You kind of like it though, don't you?
I love it.
Actually, it's a beautiful day in Indiana today. Fortunately, 70 degrees and sunny, and actually, I'm excited to be here. It's kind of a last-minute decision, but I'm glad you guys could all join us tonight. Some of you already know that I attempted to do this webinar training program that specifically focused on Amazon for a while, and it was rewarding in a sense that I was able to share a lot of experience and knowledge and things that we'd accomplished along the way and help other people get up and running. But being that the actual topic was Amazon only, it really limited what we could do and the people that could benefit from it. So for those of you that know me, this will seem a little redundant, but you'll just have to suffer through it anyway. But I've been exposed to several different businesses through my career over 20 years. And since it was rewarding sharing in an educational environment and a learning environment for people in our Amazon business, I've been sitting around for a few months thinking about how can I do this again and basically bring business and marketing in general. So Seth and we discussed it several times. How can we create an environment to share, not focused on Amazon, but focused on business in general, so that the more people can enjoy and get something out of the content. So basically, that's the reason why we're here today. I drug Seth out of his house and said, hey, I want you to sit with me. We're going to launch this thing. We're going to get us a viewer list here of people who can actually benefit from our experience, and basically want to create an environment where we go in and can dissect almost any business that you can bring to us, or anything you can think of, and hopefully expose everyone, all the viewers, and into some of the experiences that we've had that you'd be able to translate in to help your business. This time around, anything to add to that, Seth?
No.
Okay, sorry about that. What we're calling for now, it's your marketing fix. Website's on the way, but right now it's your marketing fix. Basically, that's been my passion. Any business that I've dissected and been in the past, it's always boiled down to marketing for me, which is the most important part of the business that we'll go into later. This time around, I'm really not going to share any personal contact information. Seth and myself, we really enjoy our downtime with our families. We enjoy time working on our own business. So I appreciate all the love guys were showing on the Amazon gig, but this time around I'm gonna keep it professional. No text messages, no personal emails, definitely no phone calls. That really tends to wear on people. So I appreciate that. There's a link. I'm pretty sure I put it up here. You should see a link to how to join our. Let's see here. I can't walk and chew gum here, Seth. Here we go. Here is a link, new marketing webinar list. If you'll actually click the link here. Did it work that time?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, I just posted a link, and using that link, you should be able to join the official mailing list for this webinar. This way, you'll always be informed whenever we launch something new. And hey, glad you could join us, Joel. I'm going to mute your microphone there, buddy. There we go. So that way, if you join the list on your marketing fix, you'll be notified anytime we have something new coming up. And basically, we're going to try to do this thing every 2 weeks. I've committed to a year's worth of content, and it should be a really fun time. I really encourage you to get on the email list, because eventually I'm going to stop emailing all my old lists, and we're only going to communicate with people on this list so that it's relevant to you. I really don't want to be a spam artist. We encourage you to share with friends. A lot of people like to view on YouTube if they don't know or understand Google Plus. There's always a direct link to YouTube, And whenever we're doing the live broadcast, the YouTube will be live as well, and it will be recorded and available on YouTube immediately afterwards. Anything to add to that, sir?
Not yet.
Okay, a man of many words. Join the Google Plus page. If you just go to Google Plus, it should be able to search Your Marketing Fix at Gmail. Somehow magically that appears, and you can join. We can be friends there and be part of the conversation. My vision for this entire webinar is to expose everyone in an open format. Seth and I are going to sit here and discuss different businesses that we've been involved in the past, and to expose anybody who's in business now or anybody who's looking to get in business for themselves, expose them to the many models and different marketing systems that we've been exposed to, and in hopes that you can learn how to transplant that information to use in your own business. I think that would be good for a lot of people, and God knows I would almost killed for something like this when I was trying to put together my first business. So my vision is to keep it open, keep it real, take any questions that we possibly can. There's actually a Q&A, should be a Q&A box on the right, and we can take some questions live if you'd like. Don't expect to be a lot tonight, because this first broadcast is just simply going to be an introduction about who we are, why we're doing this, what we're doing, that type of thing. I like to share because it's pretty. In my life, it's been rewarding if I give somebody a tidbit of knowledge about how to bring more customers into their sales funnel, even bricks and mortar type business. That's where I cut my teeth, and most people did. As somebody comes back and says, hey, you know what, Shawn, I really implemented that strategy that you gave me, and I know, Seth, you've been a part of this too firsthand. It just feels good when you're able to help somebody increase their business, increase their cash flow. It's just, I don't know what it is. It just seems to be rewarding. I've talked to Alan about this. Alan's a sharer too. He's on the call with us, and we talked about this in detail a couple weeks ago in Orlando. And it just, if you can open up and create an environment for people to share knowledge and experience and, do's and don'ts, best practices, hacks is what Seth's people call it. And
right.
You're what, millennial? He's a millennial. I'm a Generation X, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, there's a generation gap there. That's why we want to do it. We hope to, every 2 weeks, we're going to do a little broadcast. Most of the time, I'm going to have a live guest. I'm going to break somebody's business down, somebody that I've been in contact with in the past. Who knows? It may be one of you watching. But what I like to do is sit and interview these people, interview and talk about what they've done in the past, what kind of business they were in, the model that they were using, whatever systems they were using that helped their business, what made it work, why didn't it work, that type of thing. And hopefully you guys will be like me and kind of be a student of business to absorb these different details and the things that people are going to share with you. We're going to have a special guest on later tonight. It's going to blow you away with some of the things that he has to say. I can't wait to experience that one. But I think the live interviews is a good way for people to learn, because we may have somebody here that sells yachts for a living, and we may have somebody who sells pork rinds in the flea market. Business is business, and anybody that's buying, selling, trading for a profit, entrepreneurial type, to me, can benefit from this webinar. I hope you guys will agree with that. Like I said before, feel free to send email any suggestions for upcoming webinars. I kind of have an outline spelled out of different guests that I'm going to have on over the next several weeks. But if you guys would like a chance for us to dissect your business live and go through some of the things that make it work and what you can do to help increase sales, that type of thing, more than willing to do that. Just email that to yourmarketingfix@gmail.com. What about the website? How are we coming on that now, Seth?
Yeah. So I think we're probably going to have a different URL than Your Marketing Fix, but we'll come up with something and let you guys know.
Yeah, hopefully when the website's up and running, we'll be able to post all the webinars on there, and then it'll sort of be like a blog almost, where we can throw up some good content, connect you with some of our network and that type of thing.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of a big piece of this whole thing, is trying to bring together everyone in a big network. You and I were talking about that earlier. that,
Yep.
one contact or one mentor, like I sent you the other day, could be worth more than an entire college education. And I found that to be true.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you align yourself with people who are willing to share unselfishly and, not with the secret hope of getting something in return. I think, whenever you're exposed to that, like Seth said, most successful business people that I know have all had some sort of mentor in their life, early or late, doesn't matter. I've had a couple of exceptional mentors, and Seth brought it up the other day that just one good mentor could change everything. So hopefully you can buy into that theory because I've experienced it firsthand myself. A little bit of background on you, Seth. Tell people a little bit about yourself, where you come from, and why you're here.
Well, as you know, we came from the same town, ironically.
Very ironically.
A little town,
He was on a different side of the tracks, though.
Yeah, well, and a different generation.
Thanks.
But yeah, I've always loved business, and I was scheming up or dreaming up ways to.
Scheming's better.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, dreaming up ways to create businesses by the time I was 12 years old. Selling trading cards in elementary school underneath the lunch table. But
Pokemon cards.
Yeah,
right?
Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
So,
I just learned this like 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, he was going through all my history, but yeah, I've always loved business, and I've started a few different ventures over the years, and I'm sure we'll get into some of them. But then I went to college, did the traditional education first, and then get a job, and I realized that my passion's always been business, and I hated it. So I've been chasing the entrepreneurial dream my entire life. So here we are. I guess we'll dig into some of the details later.
Yeah, definitely. A little background on me. Like Seth told you, we actually come from the same little small town that was really ironic. We didn't know each other, even have any of the same friends or anything like that. Just when I met him 15 years after I left town, he said, "Hey, I'm from the same town." I'm like, "Wow, that's where I'm from." So just kind of a weird little tidbit of information there. But I grew up, like I said, small town, far away from the city and the ghettos and that type of thing. Although, like we were talking about earlier, our little small town happens to be Rushville, Indiana. Look it up. I think the population's about 3,500, and it's been the same since 1890. The population's never changed.
It's shrinking.
Yeah. Well, I found out why. It's because every time some woman gets pregnant, some guy leaves town. So, the population never grows. You're supposed to laugh there. Why, like Seth, I've always been a student of business. It's always, for me, it's been interesting. If I see a type of business, even as a young kid, I always, I wonder to myself, how does that business make their money? How do they get their customers? What do they do for a profit? And it's always just been, I don't know, I guess exciting for me to just kind of to listen in, and I'd see my father was a door-to-door sales guy, always independent sales guy. He sold everything from vacuum cleaners to health insurance to insulation, and for me, being in that environment, it was always like I wanted to be around people who actually made their own way, self-starters who just create value out of thin air. And that's really one of the passions that I have for business in general. You can literally just dream up an idea like the guest I'm going to introduce to you later. You can dream up an idea just out of nowhere and just create a business out of it. Seth was telling me how, some of these schemes that he came up with in his younger days, most of them don't work, some of them do, but just actually having the fortitude to go out there and try something is, set you apart from others by far. Mm-hmm. I've been exposed over my career to so many different systems. It's unfortunate that I never really got to be 100% professional at anything, but I was exposed to so many different ways of selling and ways of creating customers and business models and things like that my buddy Chad that's on the call there says, "Man, anytime you see or think of or hear of a new idea," he said, "you just never let anything sit very long. You just jump right in it and go. Nothing gets old around you." And it's all about action. I think that was an observation that you made early on in our friendship. You were like, Shawn don't sit around and talk about it. He just does it. And by the time he figures out it don't work, right, everyone else is sitting around wondering.
That's pretty key. I mean, if you never get off your hands, then you're never going to make any waves.
Yeah, exactly. So, having all that exposure to everything from flea markets to, I sold health insurance when I was a young guy. I was 18 years old. Our independent insurance agency was sold more health insurance for the company than anybody else in the state. And I'm running around pimple-faced 18-year-old kid pitching life and health insurance to farmers, who are actually entrusting me with their financial future. I was really, really good at it, but I'm not very passionate about it. I'll talk to that. I'll talk, a little more detail about that later and explain. You never would believe how we actually generated a response to bring new customers into the funnel. It was amazing. I've been in the used car dealerships. I've owned a pawn shop when I was in high school. It's kind of off the radar type pawn shop, but um, my wife says the lighting's bad, makes us both look dark. So I'm sorry, but this is Seth's environment, not mine. He likes it in here. He's sort of vampire-ish. Anyway, where was I? Different experience. I've had sales crews that I've managed, door-to-door sales crews. I've done wholesale distribution. We've done internet marketing. I mean, just all over the place. Some for 2 or 3 years. Some things only last for a couple of months. But being able to be exposed to all those different types of environments and different types of business models kind of gives you a lot of experience in a short time. I just turned 40 years old. Dang, I just said that out loud. In June, and I look back and there's dozens and dozens of different businesses that I've been in. Some were good, some were better than others, but anyway, just the exposure to those systems is valuable. In our little town, of course, I was a couple generations ahead of Seth, so he says. But in our little town, there was plenty of good and bad. I mean, like we didn't have a ghetto like Chicago or Compton, California, or something like that, but there was plenty enough to get into. You had your cliques, you had your farmers, you had your losers, you had your jocks. Yeah, sort of the same way. I mean, it was kind of like, nobody really. I don't know. What am I trying to say?
Well, what you were telling me earlier was that, everybody's kind of out for themselves and everybody's kind of responsible for protecting and kind of making their own way.
Exactly. So no matter what little clique that you were in, I mean, no one really had a free pass, and you were responsible for what you did on your own. And at the end of the day, we were all responsible for our own safety. But if you made a mistake when I was growing up, in my little town, you were expected to learn from that mistake immediately and move forward. And the reason I say that is because business in general kind of reminds me of that same scenario. I mean, in my world, business is similar. People don't really realize this, but just because when you start a business doesn't mean you get a free pass and that everything's going to be rainbows and lollipops, right? I mean, you can relate to that. And there's plenty of less desirables out there, just like running around as a kid. They're willing to steal your bike or eat your lunch. So you have to be careful. A lot of people have the American dream. They want to open a little store on Main Street. They hang their open sign out, and then all of a sudden they just expect everyone from the street to just run in and spend their hard-earned money with them. And in reality, it just doesn't work that way. So,
like I was telling you earlier, when I started the moving company when I was in college, started a moving company, registered the business, had it all ready to go, and where's the customers? They don't just magically come. So
exactly.
So you got to have a little, like you said, fortitude.
Yeah, well, I mean, just because you came up with the idea of a moving company and a name, triple A moving.
Top of the phone book, right?
Yeah, it doesn't mean people are gonna be blowing your phone up.
Right. And they didn't.
No, they didn't. Well, it's a perfect example. What Seth had was a business idea. He knew there was a market out there, but he had no idea how to tap into that market, had no idea how to bring in new customers or even how to deliver a sales message to them. So the business, like a lot of other business, just dies. It used to be kind of a joke when I was, starting my entrepreneurship. Everybody that had a step ladder and a claw hammer owned his own construction company, but it didn't necessarily have any customers. How many people do you know fit that?
Right, just like lawn mowing businesses and everybody else who's got.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I know, and I'm not making fun of it. I'm just saying, just because you go buy a new lawnmower doesn't mean that you're going to get rich mowing lawns. So I want to talk about a few early successes, and then I'll go into some of the theory that I've observed to be true. Seth can relate to a lot of these things too, but I sold couple 100,000 electric scooters through a business that I helped start back in the early 2000s. We had a really successful direct marketing company in the late 2000s. And, you know, early on when I got to actually show you something real quick. This is hilarious. Bear with me because some of these widgets work better than others. I'm going to share a screen. Wait till you see this. What you're looking at right here. Yeah, okay. This beast right here, this had a name. This was Chateau Lafitte, which to me in French meant the chateau of the feet. In other words, it stunk like dirty feet. This is me. This is honest to goodness, my cruiser. I'm 16 years old. This was my first business. This is what I did every day after school. I'd park this old rust bucket and park it right on the side of the street, and I'd sell my roses. I bought them from a wholesaler for $2 a dozen. I sold them on the street for $6 a dozen. What I didn't sell would rot, and I'd stop and give them away at the nursing home on the way home. This was my first business. True story. That was hilarious. Were you guys able to see that okay? Just type in the answer box there. So that was one. Anyway, something I'm kind of proud of. Thank you, Alan. Kind of proud of, but at the same time, it's a little bit embarrassing, but we all come from somewhere. I actually had a fleet of those old junkers when I was in high school, and actually had a pass to leave about 2 periods early. You know, my pager would go off. I was the only guy in the county that had a pager. I don't even know how it worked. But as soon as my flowers would hit the shipping company, I had to go pick them up before they got old. And I'd hired all my buddies, you know, to go out and peddle flowers and that kind of thing for a commission. And some of the people on the call here are very familiar with that and very close to that and probably remember me doing that. I was known as the Rose Boy in high school. While Seth was trading stock options, I was selling roses.
That's true.
Yeah. So tell them about one of your early successes.
Yeah, well, I mean, kind of one of the funny businesses that I started when I was in college, like I was telling you before, was I would gather all the orders up before the semester would start for all the textbooks, and then source all the books from China. It was the international versions. I don't know how legal how legal all this was, but it seemed okay because that's where I was getting my books anyway. So all the kids were all over it because they were 30% of the normal value. So yeah, I made a few $1,000s every semester just selling textbooks.
Sweet, I love it. I just learned that too a couple hours ago. I thought it was amazing. So I want to talk to you about a number, okay? The number 3, and 3 is a really important number when it comes to this webinar of yourmarketingfix.com. It's not .com, sorry. 3 is an important number because number 3 is the least number of legs that you need to support a stool, right? Most huge literary efforts are in trilogies. Most religions have some form of the Trinity, a Father, Son, Holy Ghost. It's a prime number, and most importantly, now that I live in Florida, it's how many fingers are on Mickey Mouse's hand, 3, and so on. So basically, the reason why I said that, I wanted to be a little cute, but also on our webinar, what we want to do, we want to reduce every single business to the 3 legs. In order to have a business, whether it's a stepladder and a claw hammer or bootleg Chinese textbooks, did I say that live? Sorry about that. You have to have 3 things. Number 1, you have to have a product or a service to sell. Number 2, you have to have a marketing message or a sales pitch, right? Number 3, you have to have a delivery system for that marketing message or sales pitch. And that's really, if you reduce any business down, those 3 legs have to exist for that business to be there. Like taking Seth's moving company, for example. He had his service, was moving furniture, right? He said his motto was, stoned or drunk, we'll move your junk, right?
It wasn't, but sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good. What he did not have a sales pitch or a marketing message. He had no way to get the word out to his customers besides the fact of registering a business with the Secretary of State, which is not going to do anything but get you some type of tax papers every year, right? He definitely didn't have a delivery system for that. So that's what I like to do. I want to expose everyone to as many different possible, not only products, but more importantly, marketing strategies, sales pitches, marketing messages, call it what you want, but what you do to generate new business and to bring people into your sales funnel for your business, whether that's into your store, into your camper selling smoothies at the flea market, into your web store, whatever it may be. I don't care if you have a dental practice or if you own a charter company like Alan here. Everybody needs new customers. If you're in some type of business and you believe only in word of mouth advertising, then you're looking at the wrong webinar. You need to move on over to Disneyland.com or something. If you're in business and you don't need new customers, or you don't think you need new customers or fresh customers, you're still in the wrong place. I don't know where to go from there, but Disney World won't do it for you either. So if we reduce every single business down to those 3 legs, which is my goal here for the next 12 months, then we're going to dissect each one of those legs, and we're going to have this hot seat with the business owner, like we're getting ready to, and we're going to talk about how those legs, their product, their marketing message, and their delivery system affected their business, good or bad, and what they could do to change it. For me, I call it low-tech research and development, but when you get ready to implement a strategy into your business, it's so simple in today's world. I mean, I used to have to go to the library. I used to have to steal the yearbook from the local dentist office, do whatever I could to do my research and development. But, now you can just go on Google and research until your heart's content. Seth and I were working on a project earlier today for our online sales business, and we actually spent about, 30 minutes talking about this one little card.
Right.
All this is a card that we use to bring new customers into our sales funnel. We have a delivery system for it. I'm not going to go into that now, but when we started discussing it, we just did a simple Google search for a couple of keywords, came up with a lot of examples, and we brainstormed a lot of the ways that we could position that particular card to gain more eyeballs into our business, if you will. That's the type of low-tech research and development that everybody should be doing. I don't care what kind of business you're in. It's going to pay for itself in the long run. If you just spend 1 hour a month just looking through different publications, checking out the competition, things like that. I liked, if I was in the flower business as an example, not in a competitive nature, but just in an analytical style, I would go and pick up the local yellow pages if they still exist and look at every single flower shop in my market and markets surrounding me to see how they position their store, what they do to attract customers, their pricing model, those types of things, headlines. I would subscribe to every single trade publication that I could. I would join Facebook groups, anything I could to find out, because what you'll learn is everyone's heard of the old expression, there's nothing new under the sun. Every time we come up with something, somebody else is already doing it somewhere, but maybe we just don't know about it. So what I like to do is called parallel development. If I see Alan in Houston, using a certain system to grow his business, what I like to do is just borrow that, transplant that into my business, and see if it can help me. That's the easiest way, low-tech research and development I can think of. And the other thing that I like to research is the market, your target audience. If you're selling ice cubes to Eskimos, you want to know every single thing you can about your target market, Eskimos. How do you find that? How do you find, you want to get in the head of your target market. If Seth's looking for people who are moving furniture, he needs to figure out where those people are hanging out, what they're reading, what they're talking about, what's important to them, and whatever kind of deep down passion they have that's moving them in the direction of hiring a mover. And if he doesn't know that, then he doesn't understand his market. I mean, you might as well be preaching or talking to the wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
it's like, for instance, like if we didn't portray ourselves or give the marketing message that we were safe and secure, nobody's going to let you in your house or handling your stuff. So you have to know who your customer is. These are people who want their stuff handled with care. You've got to know that.
Stoned or drunk, we'll move your junk.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you have to get to know your marketing, your market, your target market, or your audience. You'd be amazed at how many times somebody will send me an advertisement or some type of marketing message, and actually by looking at it, it becomes almost immediately obvious to me that the writer has absolutely no clue whatsoever what moves or what motivates his prospect to buy. And it's amazing when I look at that, it like reaches out and slaps me. It's like, this guy has no clue. That's insane. It's exactly like taking a bus to some unknown rough area of town, not having any idea or any business there, and getting off of the bus in that town in some strange neighborhood and running into some hard ass or two or three hard asses. I mean, that's how crazy it is to start a business and try to go out there and market to somebody and you don't understand what it is that moves them, what's motivating them to buy, the thought process that's going on, or the conversation in their head. And that's one of the things that I hope to clear up here with you, and we're going to go into that in a lot more detail as time goes on. This particular webinar here is just to get people introduced to the system, the vision, what we're going to do. I'm going to give you a little taste real quick of a guest that we're going to interview. But you have to know your market and what motivates them. I don't care if you're selling little old ladies Depends or adult briefs or whatever they call them. You need to know what makes them tick in the deepest way, because if you don't, they're going to ignore your marketing message, just like those Mexicans do in Vegas who are passing out free porno cards. We've all been there, right? You get yours? I hate those guys sometimes. So another thing that I've been exposed to in the past is people will come and they'll say, look, here's my business. I inherited this company, or, I just started this. I've invested my life savings in it. And sometimes you have to literally look at these people and say, look, Seth, your business sucks. It's not viable. A buggy whip manufacturer is not going to survive since they've done away with horse and carriage. So, some businesses, we just have to face it. They've run their course. The model doesn't work anymore. You just have to close that chapter and move on. There's so many times that I see talent go to waste, and they're just like a one-hit wonder. They hit it big doing this one project. The business takes off. They make a ton of money real fast, and then all of a sudden the market or the trends change, and the business just goes by the wayside.
Right. People no longer want your product or service.
Exactly. Yeah. Or, like somebody like Uber comes along and technology changes the industry altogether. So a lot of times you have to step back and look at your business from another angle, and sometimes you'll realize, and I'll just straight out tell people, that business is not viable. And I've been a victim of it myself. Sometimes what worked last year is not going to work next year, or even this year for that matter. So basically, if we stick to the core fundamentals, I believe core fundamentals are always going to be more valuable than any type of new contemporary creativity. Using Amazon, for example, just because we have some recent experience with that, Amazon is a great platform to start a business on. It's not an end-all. It's not a cure-all. It's just some new form that you can adapt to and leverage to your particular business and make it work for you. It's working great now. It might not be here tomorrow or 5 years from now. How many people on this call actually remember when Walmart couldn't be defeated? Walmart used to be the biggest and the best, and now Amazon's eating their lunch every day. Somebody, I guarantee you, is going to come along and they're going to take Amazon out with a bigger, better, faster, cheaper, more productive system. That's just life. We have to be flexible. We have to bend but not break, right, Seth?
Mm-hmm.
So core fundamentals, that's what I'm trying to stick with here. When studying a new opportunity or when you go to look at a new business or something you might want to jump into, a lot of people are all about this, this is a new challenge. How many times, somebody say, hey, look, you're a great marketing guy. You know all this stuff. You can sell anything. I have a great challenge for you. I'm trying to sell refrigerators to Eskimos in Alaska. Well, newsflash, buddy, nobody in his right mind is looking for a challenge. People in my industry and people do what I do, we're looking for setups. We're looking for slam dunks. Like, I want to sell humility pills to Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying? Or heroin to junkies, that type of thing. You want something that's just gonna fly. You're not looking for a challenge. You're looking for a slam dunk.
So many people that I've been exposed to want to invent their product or service or come up with something totally different than what's out there, but that's not a slam dunk. You got to educate everyone on how it works or why they want it.
Yeah, good point, Seth. Nobody really, unless you're very, very, very well funded or some huge company, we don't have enough money to re-educate or reprogram the public. And like you said, to your point, a lot of people, they say, well, I have this great new invention for this new mousetrap or some kind of widget, and It's going to beat everything else out there. I just need to find customers. Well, that's the expensive part, is figuring out how to go out there and grab new customers to look at your product and more importantly, part with their hard-earned money for it. That's not a setup. That's a challenge. That's an uphill battle. That sounds like a 30-year marriage to me. I don't want anything to do with it. I'd dump that thing like a plague. So that's funny. Anyhow, even a lot of people, that if they have a better product, I've personally never seen a good product win over good marketing. I mean, you can have the best product in the world or the best service, but if no one knows about it, then you're not going to win. The guy with the best marketing is always going to beat out the one with the best product, right?
Right. So if nobody knows about your new mousetrap, nobody's going to buy it.
Absolutely. So what we like to do, we like to use the starving crowd theory. Let's figure out what it is that people want. Okay. Number one, they want it. They're starving for it. Number two, they're looking for it. And number three, more importantly, they're actually buying it. And you know what? Hello, let's just give it to them. That's the easiest business in the world. Figure out what it is that people want and just give them what they want. U.S. Patent Office is full of failed widgets no one wanted. I love it. Thanks, Alan. He's always got something. So at this point, it's going to take me a second. I'm going to let Seth talk to you, but I'm going to bring a guy on the phone here that I've known for a long time, probably going on 10 years now. I've seen him fail. I've seen him succeed. I mean, wildly succeed in such a short amount of time. But this guy here, he's always willing to try. He's always down to do whatever, whenever, with whoever, for as long as you ask him to. I've seen him make a lot of money. I've seen him lose a lot of money. Hey, Joyce, I'm glad you can make it. But bottom line, what I like to say, pay attention to this guy if you want to learn the easy way to have obscene amounts of cash thrown in your way, in your direction, the easy way, the lazy man's way. So I'm going to bring him on. Say something intelligent.
Well, I think one of the points that you're just making that really affected me was, find something that people want and just give it to them. I mean, that's so simple, but it really hits home because so many people want to reinvent everything.
Hey, just 1 second, David. Alan, can you give me a message to let me know if you can hear me? Okay. I'm going to have you speak up, David. Thanks for the input, Alan, but if it gets to a point where you can't hear him, then I'll do something different. I'm assuming you can't see us anymore because my camera went dead. Can you see me? Okay, good. All right, I know you can't see me, David. All right, so who I'm going to introduce you here to, guys, this is Mr. the one and only David Hapner, a personal friend of mine. We've been uphill, we've been downhill, we've been through a lot of stuff, but he's going to share with you a story right now of how he came up with one of the most brilliant business strategies that he's ever come up with in his life, and how he went out and completely prostituted it and made a lot of money doing it. Introduce yourself, if you would, David. Born and raised here. Okay, David, this is Shawn. Can you hear me okay? Okay. What I want you to do is tell us about how you completely took the video game industry by storm back in the 80s and basically owned and dominated the used video game market. Uh-oh, they can't hear you, David. Speak up, buddy. Hang on, David. Somebody type yes or no whether you can hear David. Okay, 1 second, David. I'm going to try something new. Need to hang up on him. How do I do that?
Go back to your Google Voice. Maybe it's over there. Let me try it.
Thank you. 1 second. Technical difficulties. There we go.
Bye, David.
All right. Now we're back up here. Good deal. All right, I'm going to try something. All right. Can you guys hear me okay now? Okay, good. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna bring this guy on the phone the old-fashioned way here. Thanks, Alan.
This is David.
Hey, David. I got you on the old-fashioned what do you call it? Speakerphone here. Yeah. So go ahead, David, if you would, and tell your story about how you created that video game industry back in the '80s. I've already told everybody it was coming, so you can just start from scratch, and then I'll ask you questions along the way.
Well, I had a girlfriend that had about a 7, 8-year-old kid, and I got laid up with a bad car wreck, and she'd come over with this kid every day at the hospital on the weekends. And this kid would never move off the chair when he come there. I kept asking her, I said, "You got this kid drugged? What's wrong with this kid?" Because I taught him in baseball and football, and he's the most active kid you ever seen. She says, "Oh, he wants a video game." And I promised him if he was good and sat here, I'd buy him a video game called Nintendo. Well, I never heard of Nintendo. Of course, I'm in the hospital bed. So I get out of the hospital, I'm at home, and this kid comes off the school bus. He was in 2nd grade, I believe. And the only thing he did when he walked in, he never said hi to me or nothing. He went straight to that TV and played these video games. And I sat there and watched him play these things for about a month while I laid there in the hospital bed. And I said, "Why are you playing the same one? I see 3 or 4 over here laying in the corner, but you're not even playing no more." He said, "I beat those. I don't want those no more. I always want to play the new one." Every time he asked for something, he always wanted his mom to spend $45, $50 on a new video game. Well, I sat there and looked at those ones in the corner, and I looked at them, and I thought, well, how can I do something with those ones in the corner that kid doesn't want anymore? Maybe another kid don't have one of those. So I come up with this idea to buy, sell, and trade them. And I thought to myself, well, I've got to find something to work with. He had 5 laying there, and that wasn't very much product to work with. So we loaded up, went to Muncie, Indiana one day, and we went to Toys R Us. I bought 10 deep of every different one they had, brand new. Then I went to KB Toys back in the day, and I bought everything they had, 10 deep that was different. Ended up getting about 35 different ones, bought them all 10 deep, spent about $13,000, $14,000. I think I had like a $38 average in them. I go to a bread store, and I get 2 bread racks. And I go home, we unwrapped every one of those brand new ones, took a rubber band and put the directions around it, and made them look like it was all used. You got 5 rows, maybe 5 deep. And I them in a pile. Well, I got to find a way to buy, sell, and trade them. You still there?
Yeah, we're here. Go ahead.
Okay, so I called this for a friend of mine in Kokomo, Indiana. She had 3 stores. I said, "Kim, I got an idea. Bring more people in your store. What you do is sign up people in your store that says buy, sell, and trade video games. And I'll be there Saturday. We'll open up at 10, and we'll run it to 4 o'clock. And if I make any money, I'll give you some. If I don't make no money, thanks a lot. But I'll get new people in your store." Well, she loved the idea of it, so she spent $200 advertising on the radio, a couple ads in the paper, and her 3 video stores. So when I unwrapped all these, all I had was used ones. So I had a kid with me in 2nd grade or 3rd grade. He knew his video games. He could tell you it was a 1-player game or a 2-player game. Then I had his mother. I had a card table, 2 chairs, and as he walked when I got there, I actually had 3 red racks full of video games, all stinking new, at $38 average in them. I was going to sell them for $20. I was going to $10, or I'd trade them 2 for 1. If you wanted to trade 1 for 1, I wanted $8. The idea was for me to trade 2 for 1, gain more movies or more games, Nintendo, or get the $8. So if I take one off a customer, he takes one out of my bread rack, I got $8. Well, I made this deal with him. He's ready to start 4-H, and he wanted to buy a calf. I said, "I'll give you 1/4 the profit to you, 1/4 to your mother, and I'll take half." Because I knew nothing about it. I was still in a walker. They put me in a chair. I knew nothing about a video game. The last one I've ever played in my life was called Duck Hunt, and the dog laughed at me, and I tried to shoot the dog. I'm telling you, I can't play video games. It's just not me. So we get there. We probably had 300 people at the door, flooded the place. I bought them for $10. I was trading 2 for 1. I had a girl back there behind me. She was cleaning them all. So when one came in, it wouldn't have the box with it. It came out of the box. We cleaned it, put it back in the rack. If one came in with a box, and the box looked good, we threw that behind the door, and we kept all those.
Wow.
So anyway, the idea was to keep those boxes was, video stores are starting up. I called Blockbuster. I said, hey, I got used video games that cost you $38 to $40 average. If you want to buy them new, I'll sell you a package of 100 different ones, or whatever I had, for $25. Blockbuster told me to take every one I had, ever, for $25. I did that for 3 years, as long as they had a box. Didn't have to have directions, but had to have a box. So we saved all the ones the box, shipped them off to Blockbuster. Then we just kind of bought them and sold them. Well, when I got home that night, we split the money up. That kid got $2,700. Nathan, second, third graders. Mom got $2,700. I got $5,400. It was all in cash. I had a few checks, didn't amount to nothing. But when I went there with 350 games, I came home with approximately 700 games, just about doubled the games I went with. So knowing me, Shawn, like I am, I'm the greatest man in the world, I thought, well, I've got to have a better challenge. So the next day, I was on Monday. We did this on Saturday. The next day, I thought about what I was going to do. So Monday morning, I called the Fort Wayne Coliseum. And up here in Indiana, the Fort Wayne's closest to my town. The Coliseum is where the hockey team plays and all the big stuff. The basketball team played there, whatever. I called it up. I said, I want to rent the Coliseum to do a buy, sell, and trade video game show. Well, you can't rent the whole Coliseum. They rented me a room off the side called the Blue Room. The Blue Room cost me like $200, and it's about 3,000 square feet. So I go to Fox, which just came out, and made a commercial that day. Mario 2 was just coming out. I bought 100 of those wholesale. We made our first commercial at Fox. Fox was only open about probably 6 months. He made a commercial, and back then, you only had 4 stations up here. We didn't have cable. So you had ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox. I bought 12 spots on each one of those stations. That was 4 on Thursday, 4 on Friday, and 4 on Saturday morning. Tell them to go to Coliseum, buy, sell, and trade. Real big. Now I made it sound like the whole Coliseum was going full video games, buy, sell, and trade. It was actually about 2,000 square foot room off the side. Anyway, I took all these. I hired 8 or 9 kids with me that knew their games, set them in front of a bread rack. We bought them for $10. I did all the buying on the other side of the room. The kids, all they could do is trade for $8 or sell one for $20. And that's what we did from 11 to 5. Put about $20,000, $25,000 of actual money. It depends what you want to call the tapes is worth. I gained maybe 3,000 tapes. We packed it. Channel 55 showed up. The radio station showed up. I got free advertising on the radio station. Channel 55, I already bought spots off of, but they did a live thing there showing the buy, sell, and trade thing. So I went back to Fort Wayne Coliseum every month for almost 2 years. It was a cash flow that you never had. I ended up running eight crews every weekend. I'll tell you about one weekend. I had 4 crews in Detroit, 1 in Fort Wayne, 1 crew in Omaha, and 2 crews in Memphis. I'm doing all TV advertising. You guys won't believe this, but when everybody got home, Sunday night that late, I had over $350,000 in cash, and the credit cards and checks I took paid for all overhead.
Hey, David.
I'm not saying I cleared $350,000. I had that much cash in.
Let me stop you just for a second. So what you're telling me is that from a hospital bed, not being able to even wipe your own ass, you dreamed up this idea that you were going to sell used video games, right?
That's absolutely right.
And then you went out there and created an advertising message. What did the advertisement say? Just buy, sell, and trade Nintendo games?
Buy, sell, and trade video games. Bring your games with you. Trade for others. You know, I didn't say it cost $8 a trade. I had to get them there first.
Right. Yep, I understand.
You can't get in there, you can't make no money. You had people come in with 8 games of their own, they traded all 8 times 8, $64. I had the same amount of games I had before. I got $64. That kid's happy as can be.
Yeah.
As the day went on, all these kids told other kids, I kept getting busier. We didn't close at 9 o'clock that night. I was supposed to close at 5. I had people still standing outside waiting to get in, 8, 9 o'clock that night. It was unreal. That was the Fort Wayne Coliseum.
Wow. So basically what you did, David, is you tapped into a market that was there all along, but it really wasn't part of Nintendo's strategy. Is that right?
Oh, Nintendo did a buy, sell, and cease only like I was doing the buy. I was at the Nintendo thing out in Oklahoma City about a month later. Well, their nationals where they had all the kids went together. Well, of course, I ran the Holiday Inn across the street, had signs up. Well, they tried to shut me down. I got a assist order. I couldn't use the sign that says Nintendo no more. I had to call it buy, sell, and trade video games to be legal. I couldn't use the word Nintendo no more. But I had more action at the hotel across the street, buy, sell, and trade them than what they had at their convention.
David, how did you, I may have missed it, how did you deliver your marketing message when you were first starting up? How did you...
I used 30-second commercials just on TV during the cartoon time on Thursday morning, Friday morning, and Saturday morning when they had cartoons. This is back when they had cartoons just on 4 channels.
Wow.
So the kids going to watch cartoons, they had to watch it there. So if the kid would see that on TV and go tell mom or go tell dad, I just did 4 commercials 3 days in a row. I spent about, back then you get a commercial at Fort Wayne for $55, $60.
But you'd have a commercial during the cartoon saying, come buy, sell, and trade your video games. Come to this local, you said the Coliseum?
At the Coliseum, this Saturday only. I never put no time down. You just said Saturday. I guess I had people at 7 o'clock in the morning at the Coliseum waiting. They all had to pay $3 to get in. It was just wild. I really didn't think it was going to be that good, but you wouldn't believe how many tapes we traded. The $8 is what adds up. I bought a lot of them for $10, and we sold a lot of them for $10. But all the money was in trading for $8 because you didn't lose no inventory, and all you're doing is giving them a service.
So, David, let me ask you a question. How could someone on today's webinar use the strategy that you used to build that business overnight and transplant that into their company to draw business, draw new customers into their sales funnel, whatever that may be?
Well, you got to find the source that people need. These families, especially single mothers that didn't have money to spend $50 on a game, they loved me for coming in. They said, "Oh, you got 3 games here. Take out any 3 you want. I'm not ever going to buy a new one again." So for $24, they got 3 different games to play. The parents love this idea. There's nothing wrong with the used game. Might not have a box with it. And we make copies on our directions. We furnish directions for everybody.
So
but the concept is you got to find somebody that you're doing them a favor or what they need, just like what you said earlier. They've got to. You got to find something where people want. If people don't want it, they're never going to buy it.
Yep, that's exactly what I was hoping you would say.
Money is the whole secret.
So basically, you're finding something that people already want, they're already searching for and buying, and you're just giving them an easier way to buy it, a cheaper way to buy it, a better option, that sort of thing. You didn't reinvent the wheel. You took something that was already there and tapped into it. It was a slam dunk or a setup, right?
Oh, it was easy. Probably one of the easiest things I ever did.
Yeah.
Because everybody wanted it. It was the hottest thing going.
So why would you go buy $30,000 worth of brand new games from Toys R Us and then open them up and make them look used?
You have to have something to start with. I only had 5 games. He had 5 games that he let me use. Then I went to Toys R Us. I bought 350 the first week, unboxed them all. I bought 10 of everything I could find different. There was like 30, 40 games out there. I found 35 of them, and I bought them all 10 deep. We mixed them all up. That's how I got the red trays full.
That's an amazing story.
I took the boxes off.
That's an amazing story. Only in America, David. Hey, I appreciate you sharing with us tonight. I'm going to wrap things up here. I got a few more things to yap about, but I appreciate you sharing with us. And if I get any follow-up questions, I may send you a text or something. I know you're pretty low tech.
That's a good text. I don't email.
Yep, I understand.
Hey, good talking with you. I can do for you, Shawn. You've been a friend a long time, and I learned a lot off you.
All right, sir. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks, David.
Bye.
Wow, what a story, huh? For some reason, I screwed up my camera when I tried to do David's call live, but I assure you I'm still here. But basically, what David did there is it's just a basic American dream. He just tapped into a market that was already hot. He gave somebody an alternative. Instead of buying a new game for $35 or $40, he gave them a chance to trade their old game for something new, and then, or buy or buy, sell, or trade, right?
Right, and like you were saying earlier, I mean, he had the starving crowd there. They wanted a different game. The kids just cared about playing a different game. That's all they wanted.
Yeah, exactly. And then I don't know if you caught this or not, Seth, but he actually took his leftover inventory and sold it to, he had an account with Blockbuster where he'd sell it out. Blockbuster would take all. Hello, Mr. Sahanasai. Glad you could make it tonight. So anyway, back to the webinar. Sorry about the difficulties there, guys. What did I do with it? So taking into David's consideration about the TV.
Oh, yeah. So, that's one of the three legs that you were talking about. He had to have a way to deliver his message, and Saturday morning during the cartoon hour was the perfect time, I guess, for, the kids. They're thinking about playing their video games anyways, and, he's saying, here's a way that your parents can afford to let you play as many games as you want, basically. I'm sure that the kids have been shut down a lot at the store saying, no, you can't have it, we can't afford it, and David's saying, yeah, for $8, or actually not. He didn't even mention it. He just said, come and trade. That's perfect.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's amazing. A lot of people will sit around, feel sorry for themselves, thinking that they've got short end of the deal on one thing or another. And at the end of the day, we all have the same opportunities. And like I was telling you earlier, Seth, unless you're actually locked in a dungeon somewhere.
Well, he was in a hospital bed.
Yeah, he was in a hospital bed, so I can't even say that, can I? Then basically, anybody can go out and do something, same thing that David did. And, that just goes to show you right there what our world's capable of. I had a couple other notes that I wanted to share, but I guess I've lost them temporarily. Yeah, something happened on my phone. I lost all my notes. So,
okay. Well,
anything else you want to cover?
I think we've hit most of what we're going to cover tonight.
Yeah, it seems like it. So basically, just wanted to give you guys a good thumbnail sketch or outline of what the webinar is going to consist of, what you might be able to learn and apply to your local or your business, whatever it may be, and give you a little sampling of an interview. That's one of dozens of interviews that I have set up where I'm going to bring somebody in and basically dissect what it is that they did. That one's a little bit dated, but I thought it might help to get the juices flowing because, what David did is something that any normal person would have never thought of, especially, with going up against a giant like Nintendo. He basically, in the Midwest, dominated the entire used gaming industry, used video game industry. So it's a great story. And
I think as you move to more current ventures, talking with, business owners that are currently working in their business every day, as we dissect it, it'll be, we can get into the nitty-gritty a lot more and learn a lot more about the details of the three legs that you were talking about.
Yeah, definitely want to dig into that. David, basically his leg, his product was video games. His marketing message was buy, sell, or trade. And the delivery system was TV. Basically you can boil any business right down to that, and that's basically what this thing's all about for us. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks for suffering through the first webinar. I'm sorry I messed up my camera. I lost my notes. I'm not very organized, but I can be effective even without my notes. So I appreciate you hanging out with us tonight, and had a couple more smart aleck things to say, but unfortunately I lost it, so I have to save it for the next one. Be sure to join the email list. I actually posted it if you look in the chat box. He was a GameStop. You're right, Alan. I posted in the chat box how to get on. If you miss it, you can just join the Google Plus at yourmarketingfix@gmail.com. send any comments, praise, or complaints there if you would. And for now, we're signing off from Indiana. Next time you talk to me, hopefully I'll be back in sunny Florida, and we'll just patch the Sasquatch in from his office here in gloomy Indiana. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.